So welcome back, guys. So back to the Flutter video. Last video we discussed about the BloC in general, and also we introduced event. So in this video we will discuss about the BloC and more about the BloC.
Hi everyone. Okay, so the last time what we were working on were events. We need to create event objects, tell BloC what he should do for us. Yeah, so like we had our case in the home screen that we want to increment the counter. So this is actually here our event name. So this is the thing we want to trigger or to send to BloC. This is what we did. Increment counter event. Yeah. Events in general. So we need now the second part. Remember, our BloC needs events. The next part are states. So in the BloC folder, we create a home state file. And we can do the same here, like abstract home state. And don't forget equatable.
Extends equatable.
Of course, this is important.
That's like we need to remember this.
Exactly. So remember, this is the abstract class. So we just put in the constructor if we don't have any information that is common in all states. So say it's the home state itself. And of course, don't forget the props. Oh, no mistake here.
Hello.
So yeah, that's in general.
Okay.
What we can do now is actually import the state. Yeah, we need a constructor, of course.
Of course. That's a class.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we have our home state, and we need actually an object of the state, but with the abstract one, we cannot do this. In our case, as you can remember, we only update the counter value here.
Okay.
So we are lucky because we instead can use the home state itself to send the updated information to our screen.
Okay.
So in that case, we can get rid of our abstract and keep the home state itself.
Okay.
But we need to send the counter information with it. So,
And we there. Okay.
and of course, do not
Props.
forget
So
counter value and the props. So,
for this screen, the counter is the state. I'm going to say home state is the state, but the counter is the state we need in the screen.
exactly.
So what else can be the state in other cases? What about in general case?
General case, what else can there be? Usually the state is holding attributes, values, like the counter, but you could also hold functionality, like direct functions you pass from BloC, or maybe some kind of logic, but I wouldn't recommend this in that case. I would only keep attributes in there and maybe attributes holding functions.
Okay, for
Callbacks.
example, if there is button in the screen, there is a button. Then what can be the states for that button?
We could take the classic light switch, like on and off. So our state would probably hold kind of a Boolean value, let's say, and name it switch state. So we can say true, the switch is set to on, and if it's set to off, we can say false, something like that. But we would keep only attribute, I guess.
But I understood it. It's generally a property of that wizard or property of that component. Okay, and we can change that value depending on the events. Okay, that's easy to understand. So is it enough? This home state is done?
Actually, it is.
Oh, okay, it's easier than I thought. Okay.
This counter value will be the updated counter value. Maybe we can also name it like that. So we actually know better what it is about. And maybe in our case, home state could be also more specific. Like, let's say updated home state. Or, yeah.
Okay, what if I say, depending on the numbers, the press we press, the color should change in the screen. Then?
So every time we press the button, we tap on the button, not only the counter value is changing, but also the color of the floating button. Okay, then we of course need to pass the information of the color with the state. So I would put it in like that. Have color and it to our stuff. Fine. Yeah, and let's add color.
Okay. That was easy. Okay, so you can remove that color part. That was just my query. How if we want to change some other values depending on one action? Okay, that was cool. Okay, let's proceed to the...
Okay, so next what we need to do is to rebuild the behavior we have here with increment counter, right? You know, increment counter is triggered every time we press on the floating action button. So now need in BloC something that imitates that. First, we of course need the constructor for the BloC. And there is something special about it. Because the moment we create BloC object, we need to send kind of an initial state. In our case, it would be our updated home state with the start value 0. So when we enter the screen, we update the counter or set the counter to 0.
Okay.
That's the first thing. The second thing is now we need to tell BloC, okay, he needs to react to incoming events. So what we need here is we need to register the events inside the BloC. In that case, we use the on function. Use on event, on change, different stuff, but we need on.
This event emit this.
Exactly.
Okay.
What we get here is actually the event itself and a function called emit, which triggers to send a state, the UI.
Okay.
So we also need to say or to specify which event we listen to.
Okay.
In our case, it's increment counter event. What we need to do next is, of course, we want to trigger when the increment counter event is incoming, which logic should be triggered there. In our case, first we want to emit everything we calculated in this method. Increment counter. Actually, the same class name. And besides, yeah, I think that's all. Of course, we need to create it first.
So for the one who doesn't know, underscore with the method name is a private method.
Exactly.
So
in Dart, it's something Dart specific.
So if you want to perform something within this class only, then you should create a method with underscore.
Exactly. So, and now we have the fun part. We need to increment this counter. And in this case, not our UI should hold the value and update it in the UI objects, but we need to tell BloC to hold this value. So we simply say BloC holds the counter itself, of course, private value, and it's set to 0 from the beginning.
Okay. So we are setting the value twice, or? Because in opted home state also we are setting the value. Counter also we are setting the value.
Yeah, in this case, it's only the initial value we want to start with.
Then we can pass
maybe
the counter
I can
directly.
pass the counter.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. not really, because it needs to be static in that case.
Oh,
Private static.
yeah.
We-
And super, we can't pass the.
We can actually do that. And of
I
course,
don't think so.
oh, the const is yeah, a problem. Yeah, and static as well. So it needs to be static because this is a call directly in the constructor itself.
There's
So
still some underline there.
yeah, it wants to make it final because it doesn't detect any changes to that variable.
Okay, not yet. Okay.
But I would like. Should we keep it static? Yeah, let's keep it static for now. So what we want to do now is to increment this value every time we get the event. So our increment counter now updating our state. Update home state is now incrementing the counter.
Okay.
Yeah, of course we could. No, just to think. We need that. I'm sorry. I was thinking too much. We need to update. Why am I doing? I don't know. Update the counter, of course,
Us
and pass the counter to the state.
okay.
That would be one thing. So we could either decide keep this counter here. There's maybe one special thing I see right now. We have only one state, right? And remember, we have one state with the updated counter value. So another trick or another trick would be we could just say the state is our real holder of the value because of this special situation. And in that case, we wouldn't need a specific counter value here in BloC. So what we need instead of that, I'm not sure whether it's too much. Is it fine?
It's fine. I understand.
Fine.
That means that.
Okay, so you should understand it.
Uh-huh.
So what we can do is, in this special case, let's remove the counter. Let's set it to 0 again. We reduce the code by that way, but what we need now in our home state is a method called copyWith. And this method, it's updated home state. We get the updated home state from a function called copyWith. And what we need to say here is that it might get a value. In this case, it's our counter. And what we return instead is a new updated home state
The counter.
with the counter. So either it is the counter or it keeps the value of the updated counter value instead. So let's call
rename
it. Let's rename it. Yeah, this way. So we could decide on taking the new value every time we use copyWith. It's very useful with classes where we have multiple parameters. So we could easily decide on which parameter, which value will be updated. And if it's not updated, we use the old value we had in the state before.
This takes the value from the global scope then.
Exactly.
From the class. Okay.
So what we can do now is just to say the state we had the last time in our BloC. It's stored in the state property of BloC itself. And now we know it's an updated home state. We use copyWith. Therefore, we have our named parameter and we update it. So it's state dot the updated value
plus
updated here.
That's easy to understand.
This should I know why. Yeah, of course. If we use the increment.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. I didn't see that. I just typed like that.
Because it's a pre-assigning kind of stuff. It does assign itself.
Yeah.
Increments. That might be. Okay.
I was just confused a few seconds. Oh, geez. That looks good for such videos. We should restart, definitely.
Okay. So till now we have created a state, events, and a block. So that's all for this video. If you want to see magic regarding all this block stuff in our UI, then you need to watch till the next video. For this video, that's all, and see you in next one.